Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to my Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Thank you. Welcome to the party, pal. I have Agustin Beldi. He ran for office. He ran for council in his town Hurlingham in the province of Buenos Aires, in Argentina. We're going to talk about the political situation in his country right now, and as well as the election of Javier Milei. He's worked with Javier Milei's team and has tried to, and we're all pretty happy about the inauguration, which is coming up in 5 days. How are you, Agustin?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Well, you ran for, it's like you said, you ran for a council seat. First of all, how did you get into libertarian politics, and how did you, come to work with La Libertad Avanza, which is Milei's party?
Right. So for libertarians, libertarianism feels like a kind of going back in time. Argentina began as a very libertarian country. When we wrote the Constitution, it was very libertarian. No kind of control on the borders and freedom of enterprise, private property. It was very ahead of its time. And after that, when we entered the 20th century, we were one of the richest countries in the world, head to head with the United States. And after that we went downhill from there, and we started embracing socialist ideas. And well, there was a chain of military coups and the last military regime, and the constitution had been amended and changed several times. And the last time was in 1994, when the government was fairly liberal, Clinton-esque in a way. And that's the last time we had zero inflation, in the 90s. And then when the 21st century began in the 2000s, that's when we embraced this new age woke socialism. And right now it felt like Milei was the last chance to not become Venezuelan or not become Cuba or anything like that.
Yeah, and I've heard,
I'm sorry.
And I've heard there are some Venezuelan immigrants who have made their way down there. So I do wonder if what's happened with Venezuela has influenced the politics in these other countries, because, of course, most of the countries all speak Spanish. So, people in Argentina can read the news from other countries, and people in Colombia can read the news and all that stuff. So, yeah,
certainly there are millions of immigrants from Venezuela. Certainly many of them participated in the campaign as voluntaries and doing all kind of work. Immigrants are a big component of Argentinian history in and of itself. Certainly this election felt at times psychotic, at other times it was mystical in nature. And at the end of the day, we were all just working towards making Javier Milei president.
Yeah, I know. Argentina has a very interesting. I mean, it really is a lot of Europeans of a lot of different nationalities came to there. I mean, this city, Hurlingham, is very much an English name or a Scotch name, and I've heard about a lot of Italians immigrating, and I mean, I see a lot of the names really aren't Spanish names. It's you also mentioned that you had some German speaking ancestry who moved there as well.
Yeah. So Hurlingham was founded by British. We have a neighborhood within the municipality called the British neighborhood, and there used to live a lot of British. Now there are not so many English speakers, and then it was mostly Scottish people that founded the town. There used to be a law that you couldn't play the bagpipe before 5 o'clock, and well, it's a scrap law. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was there before the last amendment to the Constitution. And when Hurlingham was founded, is a new municipality. It was founded in 1994. And me myself, my surname is Beldi, which is from northern Italy, and on my mother's side is Schild, which is a German name, actually her family comes from the Volga River, from
Yes.
modern day Kazakhstan.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
Yeah. The Volga Germans are forgotten, and there were many. It's really quite unfortunate. There were many Germans who were expelled from lots of non-German or German speakers were expelled from lots of places that weren't Germany. During World War II and toward the end, and not to mention Stalin himself also engaged in a lot of forced removals and forced migrations and
genocide, really.
genocide. Yeah,
From
often
what I've been told,
genocide.
like
Yeah,
the oral tradition is very important here in Argentina.
yeah,
Like there is a deep connection between grandparents and grandkids, and there are a lot of stories that they tell and they pass on. I've received many stories like that, and my grandfather, um, when he came here, he was told that his entire family had been killed and he could never go back. And stories like that. It's actually the first German population here in Argentina were from the Volga River, from the Volga German Republic.
yeah,
Uh, After that came the people from the Graf Spee, the ship, the warship, and they founded Villa General Belgrano, which is where
yeah,
they do the Oktoberfest here in South America. And they were aboard the ship when it sunk in the Delta River, and that's the
yeah,
German proper population. After that came a lot of other Germans from all over Germany per se, but the original German population was from Kazakhstan, from the Volga River.
yeah. There's yeah, and as you pointed out, as you told me also, there's actually a Welsh community where they still speak
Yeah,
Welsh in Argentina. I mean,
yeah,
it seems like you could really get almost like a sampling of Europe, of every European culture down there, with just
yeah.
going. And people have told, and I've certainly heard that heard Buenos Aires compared to Paris a lot, or some call
Yeah.
it Paris on steroids. It's just this
One thing that
majestic
there
city.
was,
Yeah,
one thing about Buenos Aires province is that there
yeah,
was never any when the city was founded, and well, after the country was founded, the city was already there from where we were a colony.
yeah,
And when we settled our differences after the civil wars, and we could sign the constitution, which was written by Alberdi, uh,
yeah. Juan Bautista Alberdi,
Juan
yes,
Bautista
who
Alberdi,
was
yeah.
influenced by the American Constitution. Yes,
Yeah, and he was influenced, yes. And yeah, well, after that there was no kind of code for buildings, so everyone just built whatever they thought was beautiful. And so when you walk around town in Buenos Aires city, you're going to find that there are buildings that look colonial, then Renaissance, then Rococo. There are all these type of different architectural styles, and Roman monuments bursting out of the ground in the
yeah,
middle of an avenue, and Roman style monuments, and many such examples. So yeah, they call it the Paris of South America for that, and I believe it's the best city in the world.
yeah, yeah. It sounds, and of course you're not that far away. You're still in the province,
And
so yeah,
60 kilometers away.
yeah, 60
Oh, I'm
kilometers.
sorry, clicks, because I know you use the mile system.
I can use. I'm one of the few people who calls them kilometers, but yes, or kilometros. Yeah, I guess would be the
Kilometers, yeah.
Spanish word. Yeah, kilometros. Yeah, but yeah, that's
Roughly 14 football size. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, it's football. Yeah, it's a yeah. The more I learn about, the more I learn, the more I want to visit this place. So
Yeah,
you ran for council and you were working on. So you got involved with La Libertad Avanza in 2021. You said.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I began in politics in 2021. That's when, because in December 2020, that's when the abortion law came out in Argentina, and that was my motivation for joining politics. I felt that the abortion law was my government declaring genocide on innocent people, and so being the kind of person that I am, I decided to get into politics, and it started there. In 2021, I began working in another party for that was more conservative, in lines with conservative in the United States, but not really, because
Yes.
there was no ensemble, there was no Milei ensemble in the province of Buenos Aires. He was only in the city in 2021, and he ran for representative.
Yes.
He won with I think it was 17% of the votes, meaning
Yeah.
that he had a very nice block in the and a very nice caucus in Congress. And after that began the presidential campaign, and it was nonstop. I started getting in touch with everyone that was a part of the La Libertad Avanza. I had friends there, and they knew me, and I knew people, and so I started talking and I started working. And
Yeah.
when the structure was finalized, I was already working here in Hurlingham. So when the structure was finalized, I stayed here.
Yeah. And you, yeah. And of course, you said also that there were a lot of Venezuelans volunteering for Milei's campaign because they didn't want to see,
No,
the country go the way of, they didn't want to see Argentina go the way of Venezuela.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Venezuelans were a big component of the campaign. A lot of people that were not libertarians or didn't like Milei wanted to vote for him because of the fear of turning into Venezuela. And so that was a big percentage of the votes that Milei got, the fear of becoming Venezuela. Uh, and so Venezuela immigrants that came
Yeah.
after the that came since Maduro took power are a huge component. And yeah, and well, I had Venezuelan volunteers here in Hurlingham as well,
Yes.
and but the majority of them are in Buenos Aires City, and they participated a
Yeah.
lot.
If they're citizens, if they're not citizens, they may not be able to vote. I don't know if they could donate, but they could certainly, go out
No,
and
they
do the
do vote.
work.
They do
Okay.
vote, just not for president. If you're an immigrant in Argentina, you can vote for your municipality and for your representatives,
Yes.
but you cannot vote for the Senate or for the president.
Yeah. Interesting. But of course, you can always, pass out flyers and stuff like that, even if you
Yeah,
can't vote.
yeah, definitely.
Anybody can go do all that, and that's what. Yeah, there's no rules on who can do that work. Yeah, so that's. I'm
Actually,
glad.
what we do here in Argentina, apart
Yes.
from passing out flyers, is we use the gruel. It's called. It's a mixture of water, um, caustic soda. I don't know, soda caustica. I don't know what's the name in English, but it's a
Yeah.
chemical that you use to unclog your pipes,
Okay.
and flour, and you mix all that together, and you make this glue, with this transparent glue, and you use it to glue paper to walls and to posts
Oh,
and all that. So we walk around, and we glue that out. That I was actually doing a lot of that with my volunteers and the people that were working with me, and yeah, that was a fun part.
putting flyers on walls. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Yeah. They're not always. Some buildings aren't always positive with that, but sometimes you put them on.
Well, you try to avoid private property,
Yeah.
but any public wall that is a
Yeah.
huge wall that looks at like that, any wall that is on city line, like not on the
Yeah.
property line, that is a wall that is free use. And some people actually have the wall a little bit forward because they want to have a couple of more meters or anything like that, and so it's free use, and you can just
Yeah.
glue those papers on them.
Yeah. Another practice too. I've had friends who've done it in America is what they call chalking. You go out on the sidewalk and you take chalk and you'll just write on the chalk, right on the sidewalk with the chalk, and then of course when it rains, the chalk all washes away anyway. But
We
just,
use paint.
yeah, yeah.
We use paint.
Paint's a little more permanent. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
And we also do this called pasacalles. Pasacalles are like these huge banners
yeah,
that you hang on top of a street, from the
yes,
posts in the corners. And so you got the street, and then you got the banner here, like above when the average height of cars,
yeah,
and it says Milei Presidente and stuff like that. Yeah, we
yeah.
do that.
Sometimes people will stand on bridges and as a road goes underneath, they'll hold signs up where people can see them. But yeah, I don't know anybody who ever uses paint in America that would be considered permanent unless. But they
Well, that,
definitely.
that would be considered vandalism in the United States, right?
Yeah, that's definitely considered vandalism. Yeah, yeah. They're trying to consider chalking vandalism, but I mean, chalking is not a permanent thing. You know, I still wouldn't do it on private property, but you know, it's a, and you know,
Well,
sometimes you pass out, put little flyers on people's windshields of their cars and stuff like that, you know, too. And
yeah, we did that as well.
yeah,
We went we knocked on every door that we could, and we gave out ballots, like physical ballots for people to vote. And
now, you know, this is something I've not heard much, well, a little bit of yet. Door knocking I mean, you hear a lot of door knocking for presidential campaign or for local campaigns here, but it doesn't happen that often with presidential campaigns. But yeah,
you should start.
Yeah,
you should start because if ballot harvesting is not illegal, then you guys should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, America doesn't have, you know, you have that system where there are different ballots, like there's the Milei ballot, the Massa ballot. We, you know, to make sure the voters have their ballots. You just go in, you know, into, you know, a polling place here, and you know, you'd have one piece of paper and you'd say Milei, Massa, and you just put an X next to whoever you want, and then
I know.
Ballot, you know.
No, I would give out like the ballot that is already crossed, and I would give it to people. It's like sign the ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Majority of the people won't even look at it, and if you do it before anyone else, then you get a head start, and that is ballot harvesting to my knowledge.
Yeah, there's a lot of different practices, you know, that a lot of, and of course in America, a lot, you know, most of the voting laws are still state by state or even more local too. It's not there's not really a lot of regulation of elections at the federal level here. I don't know what it's like down there, but yeah.
It's one law for the whole country, because otherwise it's easier to commit fraud. Yeah. So the laws are the same. The only right that the provinces have is that they can decouple themselves from the presidential race, but they cannot do it like every year. They have to give a couple of years in advance that they have to tell you, hey, we're going to decouple from the presidential campaign and we're going to do our own election, but it's going to be the same rules for every province.
What's that mean, to decouple the election? Like they do it on a different day or what?
Yeah, they do it on a different day. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, America, the presidential, well, we have a completely different system here, and it's kind of a mess, really, when I think about it. I don't know if we could have a Milei situation under our current system here. It seems like it would be much more difficult than the system you have.
I would go local. If I were in the United States, I would start with school council. I would start with alderman positions. I would start with mayoral position, anything that is local and easy and it costs less money. And I would try to get people from other towns to come here, and I would try to make a good base in one town, to make a headquarters, and then go one after the other and plan long term.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I've certainly, you know, block walked in areas where I didn't live, you know, places where I couldn't vote, but I still helped out candidates there. It's definitely something you can do. You don't have to live there. So, and as far as I know, I've heard it's actually harder to start a political party there, or what is it? Because I see so many political parties in Argentina. It's rather wild. And, you know, they all come from these coalitions.
It's very hard to make a party here in Argentina.
But how is it that there are so many of them, though?
Well, let's start at the beginning. You can have a party in a municipality. Okay. You can have a party in a province, and then you can have a national party.
Okay.
In order to have a party in a municipality, based on the population of that municipality, you have to get a certain amount of people signing a piece of paper that says that they want to be a part of that party. When you have enough people in that municipality, you can have a party there. For the provincial party, it's an entirely different monster. Every province is dissected in different sections, and Buenos Aires province, you have 8 sections. In order to have a party in that province,
Yes.
you need to have an amount. You need to have those people signing papers, those inscriptions to the party for the average amount of every section. Therefore, and so you need 3 sections for one party from one provincial party. So if you have enough people in 3 sections, which is I think 4,000, 7,000 people in average, I think, in every section, that's 21,000 people, and you can have one party in the province of Buenos Aires. And then for a national party, you need 5 provinces to join one party, to be one party. That's why it's so hard. Milei didn't have his own party. Milei had La Libertad Avanza is an alliance between, I think it was
Yes.
3 major parties and then 14 smaller ones.
Yes, it's a coalition. There's Avanza Libertad and a few other parties. It's
well, Unión Celeste y Blanco, Partido Democrat Party. You got the I don't remember. Oh, Unión por Todos, and there were several parties.
There were several parties. It was very interesting. And of course, as it stands too, in the election, all these people go into the first in a basically what we'd call a jungle primary.
Yeah.
And then they took whoever got, I think, 1.5%. And then, obviously whoever was the leader for the coalition. So there was another guy who got a lot of votes in Bullrich's coalition, but he was out because Bullrich got more. And then it came down to the 5, and then it came down to the 2. So 3 rounds of voting. But there really wasn't. Nobody really expected Milei to win it all before the first round. Is that right? Or were there
No, I did not. I didn't have enough faith. I'm gonna be completely honest. As a Catholic, my faith wavered. But no, actually, no one expected Milei to win the first round so drastically. We expected him to have 20% of the votes, probably. We expected him to grow in the number of votes, but we didn't expect him to get 32% of the votes right off the bat. And after that came the general election and the brunt of the work that we do. And for that, there is an infinite amount of work that needs to be done. That I praise the people in charge, Lucio Olivera, for example, or Nicolás Parejas. Those were the guys in charge of. Well, Lucio Olivera was in charge of the first section of Buenos Aires. You remember I told you it's divided in 8 sections. And Nicolás Parejas was in charge of the organization in the entire province. And I praise their work immensely because it's a highly complicated work. You have to mediate between all the different parties and all the different activist groups, and you need to be able to please them all, and at the same time, none of them, because there is a strategy in mind that everyone has to follow and everyone has to get in line. And so it was very hard. Here in Hurlingham, we didn't have many. I was a part of a different group going in, and there was also another group of people that were working before. But when we met, we were very much in line with one another. So we just said we agreed on the way we played the game, and so we started working together. There wasn't much to discuss. Truly, it was hard work. I'd never been a part of a campaign that was so hard. There was a lot of opposition. It was a very dirty campaign. The officialist, the governing party, which is the Peronist party.
Yeah, you're saying that the other guys were dirty. You're not saying Milei was dirty, but yes.
No. The other guys were very dirty. It was a very dirty campaign on their side. A lot of media operations and on the very street, they were lying about us. They were lying about our candidates. They were telling all this whole awful things about us, and we didn't know what to do at first. But we followed the example. We followed Milei's example, and we started making fun of them, and that seemed to get the heat off our backs. When we started making fun of them, then they stopped bothering us. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a nice surprise. Yeah, and I mean, I saw things like they were. I saw a video of Massa supporters throwing rocks, and apparently they were even trying to charge Milei supporters with whatever crimes.
Hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah,
happened this here as well. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I hope this week this can be cleaned up after this, and maybe we'll at least get back to some cleaner elections. But
I sure
it's
hope
hard to
so.
say, really.
Well, this was the
Yeah,
election in which uh, the two candidates spent so much money only to
yeah,
lose.
yeah,
Imagine if the Democratic Party spent more money in history and then lost the
yeah,
election. That's the kind of thing that happened, and
yeah.
it's a weird combination. Like I talked about this with Olga in the Latina Libertarian podcast, and
Oh
she
yeah,
she
Olga, she's awesome. Yeah, I love
she's awesome. Yeah,
Olga.
real
Olga's
fun.
where I learned. Yeah, Olga is where I learned about Milei. Thank you, Olga. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Olga. Had a great time in your podcast.
thank you, Olga. Yeah,
And when we talked about it, I said it was the perfect storm. A lot of things happened that came together, and it became the perfect storm. And there is also the prophecy, but that is another thing.
yeah. The prophecy.
Yeah, there's this guy that prophesized a lot of things. Paravicini is called. He was
Yeah.
Italian. He was born here in Argentina, but from an Italian family.
How do you spell that
And
name?
Paravicini, let me
Yeah.
Google it because I'm not good with Italian orthography. So this guy in
Yeah.
the Paravicini Profecia. Wait.
Yeah.
This guy,
Paravicini. Yes. Okay.
Paravicini Profecía Dibujos. Here it is.
Benjamin Solare Paravicini.
Benjamin Solari
Or
Paravicini. Yeah,
Benjamin. Yes. Yeah.
he in the early 1900s. I'm gonna send you the in the early 1900s, he had these visions and this.
Yeah.
So he drew certain things and then he wrote others, and he predicted the first heart transplant in
Yeah.
1968. He predicted the 9/11 attack. He
Yeah.
predicted a lot of things actually. And there's actually a cool picture with the two towers and
Yeah.
with the shape of the Lady Liberty, and
Yes.
and he predicted that the humble man, the gray man, not black nor white, the gray man, would come to power on this date actually, and so he became kind of famous for that, and that's the prophecy, and that's
Yeah.
why I told you it was a mystical campaign. Like there was a lot of mysticism around this because of the prophecy and everything that was came into be.
Yeah. There's been quite a few people who prophesize things, and sometimes
Yeah.
there's been prophecies that end up with a different way. It's a
Well, I
yeah,
don't really
very interesting.
believe
Yeah.
in that stuff, but
Yeah.
like you can only get prophecies after they are fulfilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes they only become yeah, you don't talk about all the prophecies that were
Yeah.
or the
Yeah, but it was certainly a huge component of the campaign in social media. So that is a big thing. And
yes, it sounds like it was a big thing. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have more good things going here. It's definitely been a
yeah, he talks about aliens and meteorites, and apparently
yes.
we're gonna meet the aliens in some hundreds of years in the future.
Yeah, maybe we will. So yeah, who was the typical Milei volunteer? I suspect most of his volunteers were under the age of 30.
So the average age was 20 years old.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
most of the people working on the streets were between the ages of 16 and 23.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, there were a lot of 16 years old, like
Yes.
teenagers. They came out of school and they would come to the headquarters, and then I would give them what to do, and they would go and do it, and then they would come back or send me pictures of them doing it so that we can post them on social media. And yeah, there were a lot of them, and there was also a lot of 20 to 23-year olds, people with cars that would donate
Yeah.
time and go around the car. I actually we got some guy to give us a car, and we put speakers on top of the car, and I would drive around town with those speakers playing music and playing Milei talking. It was that
Yeah.
was the average. That was an average day during the campaign.
When you talk to these volunteers, what was their main motivation for what is it really just to get massa out, or what really made them want to come out and work for Javier Milei?
Milei, he
Yeah.
himself was the
Yeah.
motivation. I
Mhm.
remember when I went to
Yeah. And
school.
what did
It
they
was an
like? And what did they say liked
induction.
about it? His hairdo, or the fact that he's a musician, or
But no, he was a goalkeeper, and
Yeah.
no, but the thing is, we had when I went to school, it was an
Yeah.
indoctrination camp,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of problems in school because I never really liked to be told what to do, but since Millet took off in social media, these teenagers started uh, fighting back against this indoctrination. They would tell their teachers that they were indoctrinating them, that they was wrong, that they were lying, and and all these libertarian ideas that before were very occult. And
Yeah.
but after Millet, they came to the forefront, and so they would. I had a lot of teenagers that would come to the headquarters and they would ask me about libertarianism, and I would try to explain it to them the best of my abilities, and I would get them books, and I would try to, like, you have no idea how many PDFs I shared through WhatsApp during the
Yeah.
campaign. You have no idea. Like, I had to make an entire school book list, when you're in school and they give you this book list to read and all that.
Yes.
And so I had to make one of them and started giving them out to people because so many
So
kids
you
were
were
coming and asking for it.
so these were PDFs of books, like economics in one lesson or something like that, or
Yeah, economics for dummies, Rothbard, Mises, stuff like that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
not paying any royalties, but yeah, but it was for a good cause. But yeah. Yeah.
No, but really, Friedman. I'm a big Friedman guy. I really
Yeah.
like Friedman, but still, Milton Friedman. A lot of it.
Yeah.
I had to. His show in the '90s, Freedom to
Free to
Choose. I
choose.
think.
Yes.
Yeah, Free to Choose. Yeah. So I would give out the links, and it was fun. It was so
You know,
much fun.
I got yeah. Listening to this, I got a Milton and Rose are long gone, but David is still very much alive, and we got to get David Friedman and say, hey, David, they're passing out pirating PDFs of your dad's books and passing them out in Argentina, translated into Spanish, I assume. But yes,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so he's definitely making a difference down there.
Well, most of them were
Yeah.
articles, and
Oh yeah.
because you cannot give out a full book, and
Yeah.
these are teenagers; they don't have that attention span. So I would get articles or people explaining
Yeah.
the ideas of Milton Friedman, or the ideas of Rothbard, or the ideas of Mises, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth, and uh, Venegas Lynch as well. There was a
Yeah,
lot of
Alberto Benegas Lynch. Yeah, I've heard good things about him. Yeah,
he's
that's
the guy that created the definition of libertarianism. So
mm, maybe in Spanish, but yeah, okay, yeah, but he's definitely got yeah. I had not heard of Benegas Lynch before this, but now I'm finding out. Yeah, he's definitely got a huge influence. It's
yeah.
And I'm finding out a lot about this Spanish liberal tradition that I did not know much about, unfortunately, and I'm definitely getting intrigued by all of it. Even
Yeah,
going back to
the main difference is the moral framework.
yeah.
Because the libertarian tradition in the United States is fairly Protestant, while in Latin America is Catholic. So the moral framework is different.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and yeah, well, America has the largest Christian denomination in America is still Catholics, but it's definitely not a majority here. But there are there's so much variation. I mean, America really is a mixture of many different Christian churches, and of course, this is also where the Mormons got started. I mean, that was an entirely new Christian church that got started here, and
I live right next to a Mormon church.
yeah.
There is a Mormon church right next to my home.
and other little small groups. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of religious diversity here, uh, and it's all and there's never and it all pretty much gets along. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, but one thing I've read, is that the Protestant Reformation actually was a rejection of Aristotelianism in favor of Platonism, and I do think freedom needs an Aristotelian is definitely better off with an Aristotelian foundation than a Platonist foundation.
Well,
Aristotle versus Plato, that is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Actually, I got it right here.
Yeah. Plato's Republic?
Yeah, I have a full, I read a lot about philosophy. What I have to say about it is that there was a huge political context around the Lutheran Reformation and,
Yes.
revolution, if you could say it,
Yeah.
the heresy.
Somewhat say it's a heresy, yes.
I'm joking, but still. But Lutheran actually was the second time that someone tried a reformation within the church. The first time was Francis, Saint Francis. He
Which
made
Saint Francis was that? Because there'd been a Saint Francis.
the guys that cut their heads on top of the hair on top of their heads. Those guys. Those are the Franciscan.
The Franciscans. Okay, yes.
Yeah. Those are the followers of Saint Francis. He made a reformation within the church that was very successful and within the framework, the theological framework.
Yes.
The difference with it, in my opinion, so that no Protestants get angry, in my opinion, is that the Lutheran Reformation was largely pushed by the political class in northern Germany, in Ulm, and they were trying to get rid of bishops, and they wanted to choose their own bishops, and so it was more a political movement rather than a theological decision.
Yeah, the Franciscans were Saint Francis of Assisi. Yeah, there have been several Saint Francises in the church.
Oh yeah, right.
The Catholic Church. So yes, there's also Saint Francis Xavier, who was so yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I've largely seen it where you tear down the all-powerful church and just build an all-powerful state in its place, which is really what happened after that. But there was also a tension there. Yeah. So it's and you having German industry. Do you also read German, or obviously Spanish and English, but do you know German as well, or?
Yeah.
Oh, you do know German?
Yeah, I learned in school, actually.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So
I went to a German school.
You probably read some of this stuff in its origins too, yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, philosophy has always been so much more complicated in German than in any other language. I try to avoid it as much as possible. Trying to read Hegel in German is such a pain, and so I abandoned trying to learn philosophy through German. And there's also the fact that the Enlightenment began in Germany, and I think the Enlightenment was a mistake. So I tried to avoid it.
Why do you think the Enlightenment was a mistake?
Well, I think it was the first time that we separated the moral framework. In order for us to coexist peacefully, we need a moral framework. The Enlightenment was when we decided to separate ourselves with our myths and with our heritage, but we also decided to separate ourselves from the moral framework. Nietzsche famously said God is dead, and although most people would think that he was happy about it, he was actually fairly sad. And what he meant to say is that, look, guys, now that we don't think about God when we write laws, we don't have a moral framework, so we need to find out a way for us to not go crazy in the process. Mainly, I think, Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, and Jung, I think, were the only three writers that wanted to put metaphysics back into philosophy during the Enlightenment. And I think that's the beginning of, and they were the only ones pushing back. And it was during the Enlightenment that we finally separated ourselves from the idea of God in our forms of government. And I think the independence push in America, mainly from the United States and Argentina, wanted to pull back God into the written law.
Yeah.
Famously, in our constitution, we wrote that we think God is the source of all knowledge and wisdom and justice. And in the United States, is one nation under God. So it was a push to try to go back and to stop that, because it's like Dennis Prager said, the flower in a flower pot is destined to die because it has no roots.
I've certainly been pondering a lot of these questions the last few years, although I do believe that often we would have conflicts over, whose God was the correct God, whether it be, Catholics and Protestants, or
Well,
Orthodox, or Orthodox, fighting Eastern Orthodox, fighting, Christians of the West,
hmm.
yeah,
Well, I think it's inevitable. You get two humans in a room and you're going to have
yeah,
a war anyways. So I think
yeah,
due to human nature, it is inevitable. And I do not think we're inherently good, nor do I think that we're inherently bad. But I do believe that we strive towards freedom. I think that the human soul cries for freedom,
yeah, yeah,
and what is freedom is a more important question than which form of government we have, and what is truth is more important than what is a lie, and of course what is good is more important than what is bad. And if we know
yeah,
where to strive, and when we know when to what we if we know what we're working towards, we cannot miss the target, therefore we don't fail, and we are on the path of goodness.
yeah. If we have a positive image of where we want to go, it's certainly true. Yeah, yeah. You know, what is Milei's campaign pretty much religious, or is it drawing people from all different?
Oh God, no, don't get me started there. It's amazing. It's so weird. It's so weird. Do you know what's the name of the Jewish trumpet? The horn, the Shabbat, I think it's called. No, um,
No, I don't know what the Jewish trumpet is.
it's a horn that works as a trumpet. I don't remember the name, but every time Millet does an event, before the event begins, they play the sound of that trumpet for everyone to get ready for him
Yeah,
to appear. And it's what
yeah,
they played and to make the walls of Jericho fall and all that.
yeah,
There is a lot of religious imaginary around it. It was
yeah,
famously Millet is turning Jewish, like he's
yeah,
converting to Judaism. He's in the process right now, and there is a lot
yeah,
of people that are pro-life and therefore much more religious on the left.
yeah,
And but I wouldn't say that it is entirely religious. I think that because Argentinians are more religious than the average American, then
yeah.
there is more religion involved in the campaign. And that's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, and I would say also that I don't believe that I don't believe that a free society can exist where you have the type of cultural breakdown that we have in America. And this is why I've been following Argentina so much. I mean, I don't know how we get out of this.
Be brave. Be
Yeah,
brave. The night is always darkest before
yeah.
dawn. That's
And in South America, and really all over, almost everywhere, whether it be El Salvador or Peru or Colombia, I still see a society where people still want to get married, have kids, and and they're
look. I think you're worrying on the bad. Try to look at the
yeah,
positive. Look at Disney, for example.
yeah,
Disney stock has been plummeting since
yeah,
2 years ago, and
yeah,
recently in their 10K analysis report, they explicitly wrote that the culture that they are propagating in their films
yeah,
is not aligned with the American culture, and therefore their films are failing because of that.
yeah,
And look at what happened with Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light.
yes,
Look at what happened with Trump campaign and all these new generation of candidates that are coming
yeah,
in, and they're trying to build something new and better, and they're trying to fix the problems and their mistakes of the past. Uh, I really like Matt Gaetz, for example. I really like him.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy with a lot of balls. Like
Yeah.
he's got a
Well,
spine to him.
yeah.
And
You know,
and look at what's the name of this guy, the Project Veritas guy that was kicked out.
James O'Keefe. Yeah.
James O'Keefe, and look at the
Yeah.
company that he's making, that it has been growing
Yeah.
exponentially, and look at you and the podcast you're doing, and look at all these new people that are trying to get these new ideas out and these moral ideas out. The only thing that we have to do is not stop. We
Yeah.
have to keep on running, and that's what we did here in Argentina. We've been trying to get rid of this type of government since way back when. The opposition to the Peronist Party before us was called Juntos por el Cambio, Together for Change,
Yes.
and they turned out to fail pathetically. But still,
Yes.
they were at the beginning, and so it's been years since
Yeah.
we've been fighting, and now everything galvanized around the image of Milei, and we have a great chance at doing something new and better. And most of the people working with me and everyone in the political coalition is young people, this new generation, and libertarians. When was the last time you saw a libertarian? This is the first time in history a libertarian was elected president.
Yeah, I've been paying so much attention to this because I want to figure out what can we learn from what's been done down there, because we're not doing it here. I mean, some of our people are kind of boring, while Milei is a pretty exciting guy. He's definitely knows how to get a crowd motivated.
But
So,
I think the main difference is cultural. You guys have a different culture here. It wouldn't be good for you guys to emulate what happened here.
yeah.
I would recommend you guys to have more fun, to make more jokes. And what I told Olga, which sounds a little bit rude, but it's the truth. You need to disregard other people's sensibilities and start trying to have fun. It's not about it's not about the votes. It's about winning an election. It's not
Yeah.
about and so start having fun. And certainly many people on the left deserve to be made fun of. And
Yeah.
if there is someone, which I know this is true, but I read on the news about it, if there is someone advocating for postpartum abortion, that person needs to be thoroughly humiliated.
Yeah.
If there is someone advocating for sex change for children, that person deserves to be thoroughly humiliated.
Yeah.
If there is someone publicizing to children alcohol and sex changes, much like Mulvaney, they deserve to be thoroughly humiliated.
Yeah.
There is no in between here, and it is one of those times in which you cannot go black or white. You have to choose a side, and to, well, there is also the fact that because the Democrat Party had invested so much on these radical leftist ideas and this
Yeah.
wokeism,
Yeah.
there are Democrats running in droves to the Republican Party. So I would
Yeah.
try to push on those, to create culture around it, and to because the problem here is that there are people that say vote blue no matter who. That doesn't make any sense. Well,
Yeah.
but we know that for a fact here in Argentina they vote Peronist no matter who.
Yeah.
There is a
Blue is
reason.
Peronist. I just want to clarify that.
But yeah, well, Peron is the guy that invented the term social justice.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He created the term. He coined the term in 1946. So he created the term, and he was the first one to talk about it. But it means something entirely different than what it means today. And I think that was one of the points why so many people voted for Milei. He's the most voted president in Argentinian history, and there is a reason for
Yes.
that. And that's because the left here in the United States started lifting the banners of the left in the United States. They started pursuing the social problems from the United States. Why do we need a Black Lives Matter chapter in Buenos Aires? We don't. We literally don't have those problems. We don't have racial problems here in Argentina. We have an entirely different cultural heritage towards race. And so that was one of the reasons why it was so easy for us to make fun of them. But one of the problems on the right in the United States, whether it be libertarian or Republican, or conservative, which I believe are two different things, Republican and conservatives.
Yeah.
I think that one of the problems is that you lack the ability to coordinate and organize yourselves the way the left does. So I would argue go for that, and try to go for the young people. Create culture, create content, create the way to propagate these ideas, and inevitably you're going to have a disruptor that is going to come and fill the vacancy for leader that you guys need. I think Trump is a good
Yeah.
idea to organize and rally behind Trump and try to get as many libertarians around him as possible, probably. There is the America First movement, and there is the Mises Caucus. They would
Yeah.
greatly benefit if they joined hands and they try to work together. I would argue for that. I would advocate for that. Try to disregard the established sensibilities around politics and start having fun.
Yeah. Fun, I think, is a very big part of it. Just having fun. I mean, whether it be smashing a pinata like the central bank. I will tell you this: you will never in a million years get American libertarians to rally around Trump. I mean, if one big reason is because Trump promoted all the coronavirus nonsense, and it was part of the reason why we had all these ridiculous policies. That is something that upset libertarians in America very much. I think it upset a lot of people down there too. These restrictions that just created misery and really lined the pockets of the caste and made them richer and made everybody else poorer.
Milei was heavily against the lockdowns and the coronavirus isolation policy and all that. And it's a matter of the fact that the problem with Trump is that he is an attention seeker, I think.
Yeah.
He likes the attention that comes around. I think everyone on the TV started telling him to do this or that, and that got him on the wrong side. That's why it's so important to create culture and create content and break the matrix.
Yeah. Creating a culture. I think there are positive forces. We have a lot more libertarian concentration movements, like going to one area and just concentrating our efforts there.
The Free State Project. Yeah, I know about it. So much fun. Yes,
I mean, home and stuff like homeschooling or taking your kids out of school is also growing.
But you have tools.
How easy is it? By the way, how easy is it to take your kids out of school down there? If your kids impossible. Okay, yeah, and
that's also a big part.
Yeah,
and Milei was for school choice and the voucher system and all that, and so that was a big thing.
Oh, and the other countercultural movement too. Bitcoin.
Oh yeah. That was a big thing. Yeah.
Bitcoin. I mean, I know Bitcoiners were very happy about Milei. Most of them, and I know seems like he's going to be hanging out with if he hasn't hung out with Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, he will. Yeah, they seem
he's
like
invited.
He's
invited to.
He's invited him. Yeah. And did you? And I brought this up again. Did you see the tweet Gustavo Petro of Colombia put out and said, Argentina has went right wing, and Bukele said, "Now say it without crying." It's I was in El Salvador last month, and it looked like it was really there was just a lot of optimism there.
It's about having fun. That is having fun. That is
that was having fun. Yeah. American libertarians definitely need to learn how to have fun. And
for example, I have an idea for you.
Yeah.
The Free State Project, right?
Yes.
There are a lot of libertarians in New Hampshire, right?
Per capita, yes.
Why don't you have the no seatbelt holiday, or you don't have a no seatbelt parade or a festival around all these weird things that make libertarians have fun? You know what I mean?
Yeah, New Hampshire.
There are no seatbelt laws. So why don't you make something around that and have fun with it? Like make a festival or a carnival about it, and make a lot of broken seatbelts and
We can make carnivals and stuff like that. We're actually pretty good at doing things like that already. But it's definitely different other things you could do. Yeah, it's certainly a way to make things more creative. And and there's we talked about Bitcoin and
what about Open Carry Day? Open Carry Day. What?
yeah.
Why don't you guys have that? Open Carry Day, and everyone just walks around and they all get together with their rifles and everything, and they're openly carrying guns. Like, make something fun of it.
That would be yeah, that might work in some days too. Yeah, open carry and just things like that. I think there's a lot of things or just marijuana smoke in or something like that. Yeah.
Chimney Day. Chimney Day.
Chimney
you get
day,
everyone that smokes pot together, and you start making a cloud of smoke that it looks like a chimney.
Yeah, smoke signals. Yeah, these are some great ideas. Yeah, it seems like
having fun, man.
Yeah,
and they all came out on the top of my head. They just came out at the top of my head because you guys need to and those are the ways to coordinate and to organize and to prop up candidates for certain places, to make these events, to create a culture around it so that you know who to vote and who to trust.
Yes. One good thing is we do have, one of our leading libertarians in America is a comedian, so that helps.
Oh yeah, I know him. It's Dave Smith.
Dave Smith, yes, comic Dave Smith, yes.
He's fun. He needs to be more irreverent though. When he decided that he would be presidential candidate the other time, and then he didn't, and then he did, and then he didn't.
Yeah,
he needs to be more irreverent. He's a comedian. He should be having fun, not being a candidate. Stop thinking about being a candidate and start thinking about having fun. Milei was having fun.
Yeah,
we were having fun. Yeah. When was the last time you saw a candidate going around with a chainsaw advocating for cutting expenses?
Believe me, everybody in America is talking about chainsaws. That is the one thing. And the other thing, they're all talking about taking chainsaws around and stuff. That is definitely something that Americans are noticing. And maybe the hairdo and the chainsaw. Yeah, one thing I have learned though is sometimes comedians get a little they get a little more reverent once they have kids. I don't want my kids to hear these jokes, but
Was he a father recently? I didn't know.
Dave Smith just had he has one or two now. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, that's one interesting thing. Milei is still, not married, which of course you can also wait until your kids are all grown up and they don't care. But so it's definitely a very
well, everything is on the internet now, so he cannot avoid it.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Milei really learned how to use the internet and get a lot of short little videos out there of him doing things. I don't know if they can really take that away from us, although they're going to try different ways to do it. Also, I got to bring this up too. There's been a movement to get Sylvester Stallone to come down there.
I should hope so. I should hope he comes. He's a very important figure in the Milei campaign for some reason. Well, because there are these figures in the Twitter sphere, in the X sphere of influence that were very much the cornerstones of the internet campaign. And one of them used to be called Oso Gordo Intenso, which means fat, intense bear. And he was politically incorrect and all that. And he got taken down from Twitter hundreds of times, and he always changed his handle and came back. And the latest one, I think it's called Dan Intenso or Also Dan. I don't remember. You should
I don't know.
Google it. But I follow him and all the other accounts, so I don't really know. But,
I've been following quite a few of these people.
And this guy, his profile picture is a picture from the movie Cobra.
Cobra, yeah.
You are the disease, and I am the cure. And he shoots the guy, and that's how he became famous, because he was advocating for shooting pedophiles. And well, not that exactly. He was more joking about it and humiliating these people on the left. And and so he's a huge follower of Sylvester Stallone, and he is a huge fan. And he famously said that in order for a man to get out of depression, he needs to watch all the Rocky movies, one after the other.
Oh, they definitely came. They definitely are. Certainly, those kinds of movies are definitely inspirational. It's
it's a matter of. Look, Stallone is one of these 70s figures that hasn't gone woke.
Yes.
So I think the objective is to prop up these kind of figures, so all other celebrities do not fear the woke mob. I think that's the idea. Although I don't think they're doing it logically. They're not thinking this logically. They're just huge fans of Stallone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, in giving him support when he's not woke, they are propping him up above all the other figures in the celebrity category.
Yeah, the celebrity. Yeah, I mean, there was I saw an exchange or two with Elon Musk too. I wonder if Elon would come down.
I would love to. I would love to meet him. I would
Yeah,
love to meet Elon Musk.
Elon has certainly been he's been very interesting. The world is a much more interesting place with Elon in it. Definitely.
Well, because he likes to have fun.
Yeah, he does.
That's the difference. The difference between someone effective and someone not effective in today's politics is whether they are having fun or not.
Yeah, like one time Elon just said, I'm having a party over here, and everybody with a Tesla is invited. So just come over, and all you had to do was have a Tesla. That eliminates over 99% of people. But still, if you get a Tesla, go.
That is so fun.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, he's.
I remember the flamethrower, the not a flamethrower thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was also fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Yeah, and I think it helps too that Milei has been fun, but also called a spade a spade. He doesn't. He's really called the socialists what they are, and that's what upsets them. There aren't very many who call them what they are, but if you start calling them what they are, I think that's going to be
like a vampire or a devil.
If
you point at them, they shriek from the light and.
Yeah, I mean, when Milei asked Miriam Bregman, "Why do you subscribe to this ideology that killed 150 million people?" And she was just like, "Okay,
That was not real socialism. That's what she said.
Yeah,
we have fun because every time she says that, we start saying like, that is not real. We post pictures of pizza with pineapples, and we say that's not real pizza, or all that stuff. Like we have fun about it, and so through that you make things last in the internet because you give it certain virality, because you're gonna see Bregman saying that was not real socialism, and then someone saying pizza with pineapple is not real pizza, and you assimilate the two together, and that becomes a meme, and memes turn to outlast the virality.
Yes, they do. And I think it also, one thing I got to say is do you think things at the colleges might change? Because that's ultimately where the socialism
you need to work in colleges. Although I'm not in college anymore, I'm working with these young people that want to do stuff in colleges, and I'm trying to help them out any way I can, and I will try to help them into taking back colleges, because the problem with colleges, I believe, is that everything we live in culture for some reason is born in colleges 50, 60 years in the past. And so we need a way to make sure that in 50 years we're talking about freedom, and we're talking about good and evil and truth, and not I don't know, whatever perversion they're talking about now.
I don't know what kind of perversions they're going to talk about next. They keep coming up with new things. It's rather crazy.
Well, you got to praise them for their creativity.
Oh, they're creative, and that's really, I mean, ultimately the Marxists saw, wondered why this worldwide revolution didn't take place, after the Bolsheviks. And so they tried to figure out ways to establish Marxism in other ways.
Yeah, Marcuse, right?
Marcuse, the Frankfurt School, all those people, and
I know a little bit about it.
One person this show being called the Fountainhead Forum. Is anybody in the liberty movement down there talking about Ayn Rand?
I don't like Ayn Rand.
Yeah,
I don't like Ayn Rand. I have many friends that are like purebred libertarians. not so
Yes.
much like me, which because
Yeah.
I'm more Catholic, I try to fall
Yes.
more on the Catholic religious side. But I have friends that are outright anarchists,
Yes.
and when we talk about them, they don't really like Ayn Rand either. They read Atlas Shrugged, and they
Yes.
certainly tell you to read that book, and they certainly try to promote her books, but they don't like her. And I have never seen anyone talk about Ayn Rand the way they talk about Mises or Rothbard or Friedman. I think, or Smith, John Smith, and I think no, Ayn Rand is not popular here, and with the intellectuals that I've talked, they don't like it here. I think it's cultural. I think there is an
Yeah.
incompatibility between the Argentinian cultural libertarian sphere and the Ayn Rand American cultural sphere.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, is there? I know Millet was also influenced by the Market for Liberty by the Tannehills. I don't know if there's any anarchist materials like that, like Rothbard. I mean, but from what I'm hearing, these books are appearing and people are going out and buying them now too, which I think is
Spooner is
Lysander Spooner. Yes.
yeah. They do like Spooner though.
Yeah.
They do like Spooner. Yeah, we do like Spooner here. I prefer Spooner over Ayn Rand actually.
Oh yeah. There's definitely some people out there. Yeah, who've done a lot
But
of good work.
there's also the fact that we have our own authors, so that is also a big influence.
Who has their own office?
We Argentinians, Alberto
Oh yeah.
Elegans Lynch, Giacomini, and there are many
Yeah.
authors, and we
Yeah.
have our own libertarian sphere.
Yeah. Well, there's also Jesus Huerta de Soto. I believe was also another big influence on Millet. Yeah. So
Agustin Laje.
yeah, Augustin Laje. Yeah. And I've had Axel Kaiser on. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of good people doing good work down there. It's
Yeah.
really. Yeah. It's a. Yeah, it sounds like it's definitely. So if I came down, what should I visit down there? Buenos
Well,
Aires,
you start with Buenos
Ushuaia.
Aires.
Yeah.
You
If I
start
go.
with Buenos Aires. Definitely, you
Yeah.
start with Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
I would recommend El Cuartito, which is a pizzeria. Uh, then you
Del
can go
Partido,
to
you said.
any El Cuartito. I'm gonna
El.
write it down.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
El
it's a
Cuartito.
pizzeria.
Yes. Cuartito. Yes. El
Yeah,
Cuartito. Yes.
I would recommend that. Well, in Buenos Aires, you're gonna spend at least 2 weeks
Oh yeah.
seeing everything that it has to offer, and
Yeah.
then we go to the major tourist destinations. In the
Yeah.
south, you got Patagonia, you got the Seven Lakes, you got the Perito Moreno Glacier. Then you got the Niagara Falls on the north, and
Iguazu Falls, but yes.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Iguazu Falls. Sorry.
Those falls are quite impressive,
The
and they're
Iguazu
they're in
Falls.
three, and they're
They're
in three
bigger than
countries.
the Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
That's why I meant to say they're bigger than the Niagara Falls, and
Yeah.
that's why I mistaken the words like Freudian slip. And then of course the very north, the salt, the Salares. I don't know how you say it in English. I'm not good with geography. Um, so they're
Salt.
major. The salt, when the salt dries up and it makes like a
Okay.
glass, and that is in the north, Los Salares, and
Near
then
Bolivia, I think. Yeah.
there is the Uritorco, which is where the aliens come, and then there is the
Yeah.
Mendoza, of course,
Mendoza,
Cordoba
Córdoba.
City, and
Yeah.
then you can go around camping around Cordoba City, where the valleys and the
Yes.
hills and the rivers, and then Mendoza, where the best wine in the world is made,
Yeah.
and
I've
you
heard of
can
that.
actually make a tour through the wineries, and you start and you begin sober and you end up completely drunk and out of good wine. And everywhere you go, try to eat meat because it's amazing. And empanadas and
Mm.
causa. And it's gonna be more of a gastronomical trip than a touristical trip.
Yes. Well. Yeah, but
But if
who
you
would
want to
want
have
to
fun, Buenos Aires
go?
City
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
It's a city that never sleeps, much like New
Yeah.
York in that regard. At any time of the day, you're gonna find something to do, and it's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, go way down south and see the penguins and the whales, maybe. Yeah. So
Yeah, that as well.
yeah,
La
maybe go.
Pingüinera. La Pingüinera. Yeah, that's like 200 kilometers away from Rio Gallegos, which is the city where my uncle lives.
Penguinera, yeah, and of course Aconcagua,
Concagua.
the highest mountain that's the highest mountain that's outside of Asia. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The mountains. Yeah. I'm definitely I'm definitely more of a scenery person, but yes.
Oh, well, La Pampa. There
Yeah.
is something that people don't know about La Pampa, which is a huge flat land. So there is not much
Yeah.
that you're going to see. But
Mm-hmm.
when you wake up for the sunrise and you stand and look at the horizon as the sun is coming up, you're going to see the
Yep.
entire sky painted orange.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's going to be one of the most amazing sights you're going to see in your life, because it's a huge flatland, La Pampa. There is nothing for kilometers around. It's flat. And so there is nothing
Yep.
obstructing the light of the sun as it comes up.
Yeah.
And so that's it's one of the most amazing things that you're going to see in your life.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, this does raise one question: is what exactly will happen with the airlines?
They're going to give it to the workers.
Yeah, that's probably what you do to privatize it. Yeah, you let the workers have it and see what happens there. And I also had another guy, and he said that if Maduro from Venezuela sets foot on Argentine soil, Bullrich said he will be arrested for human rights violation. Is that correct?
I didn't know, but I would expect that from Bullrich. Yeah, I would expect that from her, Patricia Bullrich.
After I heard that, I said, okay, don't say any nasty things about her anymore if she does that to Maduro. But Maduro won't go there. But anyway, yeah.
Well, Patricia Bullrich began, and this is a matter of fact. When she was young, she was a part of the Montoneros, terrorist organization.
Yeah.
She was a part of the planification, and she was an actual part of putting bombs in places and kidnapping people and shooting up places. Then she ran away to France. Then she came back, and after that came her political career. And throughout that time, she kind of like changed the way she, she said, "Okay, what I did was what I did. I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're looking at the future." She said that, actually, and I don't think she's a bad minister of security. Like, we don't have a defense ministry. We have in the United States, you have like one ministry for safety. Like, you have Homeland Security, you have the Ministry of Defense, you have we have one for security and one for defense. There used to be one. It was called the Ministry of War, and then we separated them, and one was for security and the other one for defense. That's
we have all this stuff in America.
Very good. I think she's very good at the security side of things. I think it's going to be something good for the police, because it's going to finally give them the political support in order to catch the bad guys and put people in jail, which they didn't have up until this point. And you Americans are starting to see what happens when the politicians don't support the police. And that is, I think it's good. Although I don't like her, I think it's like choosing the best from every field in order to get the best result. And I think I respect her for what she did, because during the campaign, when she lost the general election, and it was Milei and Massa, she was the one that offered to endorse Milei. And it was one of the most selfless acts in Argentinian political history, never seen before. And I respect her dearly for it.
Maybe it just could be out of luck. If this guy wins again, my country is going to be wrecked. I don't know what the Montoneros are actually for, but it is and it does seem like it's one of those cases where the hacker ends up becoming the security consultant. They teach. They used to break into computer systems, and now they tell rich corporations how to keep their systems from being broken into. It's
But he's a very good consultant, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the
or
70s were crazy. That is for
yeah, it
fact.
was a very crazy period from what I'm hearing. Yes, it's
Yeah.
and Milei, and then since the election started again, Milei got the highest percentage of anybody in the general election.
That
Although,
gives him legitimacy.
yeah,
That
he has
that is true.
legitimacy because I think he's still going to have some obstacles in Congress, and there might be some protests there. I hope it's going to be interesting to see what happens on inauguration day.
It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be
I
there.
hope.
I'm gonna be there. I want to be, but I don't want to be inside Congress. I don't want to be with my suit and tie saying hi to people. And no,
Yeah,
I want to be on the streets, man. I want to be there with the people and see what happens. And if any trouble breaks out, I want to
yeah,
be there. I want to feel that. I want to be a part of it.
yeah,
Uh,
and you have your inaugurations and what is essentially almost your summer down there. We have ours in the coldest month of the year, so it's a slight difference,
Summer makes things also more fun. People wear less clothes. They
You
get
have
more
Christmas in summer, yes.
rationally rational.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is maybe everybody will just be a little quieter because Christmas is coming up. They'll just all
Uh,
everybody. Yeah,
uh, no, actually, the
yeah,
since 2001, since 2001, whenever December rolls around, and we
yeah,
call them los saqueos de Navidad,
yeah,
the Christmas riots, we call them, because
yeah.
poor people take advantage of large numbers and they try to sack supermarkets and convenience stores
Oh
and
yeah.
shopping centers and stores that sell clothes, the supplies, and all that. And every December rolls around, and we're all like, okay, when are the Christmas riots going to begin? And whatnot. And whenever there is a critical situation like the one we are in right now, we expect more Christmas riots than the year
Oh,
before. So that's something we are expecting, and because it's just, and it's also just common for us. Like someone blockading the road is just common. The left took advantage of a political situation, and they made it normal to blockade an entire avenue or an
oh,
entire highway in order to demand the government give them money, or demand the
oh
government
yeah.
give them
Oh,
computers, or demand the government do whatever.
yeah.
And 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 so it was normalized, and that is one of the reasons why traffic is such a mess here in Buenos Aires.
I so
Every
hate people.
day there is a blockade, every single day, no matter when. Every day someone is blockading the 9 de Julio Avenue, which is the widest avenue in America, in the world, I think. No, in America. And
I so hate people who block traffic. Though that is, I protesting is fine, but I hate people who do that. Just
I have a right to transit. Why are you infringing on
you're
my right to
illegally
transit?
you are conducting an illegal detention. You are detaining me. You are it is detent. You are yeah. You're
Yeah, but it's gonna be fine when we do it. Do not forget it, because we're gonna be having fun.
no, don't go on block traffic. Don't ever. Yeah,
No,
should be
but
a
it's
lot of fun.
actually
Yeah,
like
yeah,
manifesting and protesting and organizing events. That is something very common. So the system to demand permits from the government,
mhm,
it's very well oiled. And sometimes you can actually like ask the government to block like this avenue from this
yeah,
street to that street, and from this time to from 7 to 5, for example, or
mhm,
from
yeah,
from 7 to 12, because we're going to do a
yeah,
parade or whatever.
yeah,
And you can do it. That is like New Orleans. Actually, New Orleans has a very similar
yeah.
system than the one we have here.
Yeah. Is there anybody you like in particular that's going to be on Malay's team, like Villarreal or Don't Mondino or any people like that?
You name the two people I like the most.
Yeah, yeah,
Diana Mondino is going to be a
yes,
great chancellor. I hope I can work with her. I hope I can get a position to help her. And Bisha Roel as well. I like her a
no,
lot. My family, my dad and my grandfather were in the army, and
yeah,
although they never had anything to do with the military regime, I was ostracized in school because my father's decision to serve the Argentinian people.
Yeah.
And so I actually find it very inspirational that
Yep.
someone can come up and say, hey, military people are people as well, and they deserve rights, and there are victims because of terrorism that we need to to um, to take into account, and their rights are being violated because the victims of terrorism were never considered victims for the government and whatnot. And so I think it's very important. And so those are the two people I like the most. I like my candidate as well. I really like him. I hope he can work with
Mike
government.
Kempe, you said?
My mayoral candidate is
Oh,
Rafael de Francesco. I think he's one of the most intelligent people
yeah.
in Argentina right now, and I would like him to work there. I would like my dad to work in the Ministry of Defense, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that is how much does Argentina really get involved in other wars at all, or do they just kind of keep to themselves? I mean, the military. I mean, does the military go elsewhere, or does it just kind of keep
The last
protecting
time
us? I
we
mean,
got
obviously
involved,
the Falkland Islands or the East-West Malvinas.
Malvinas.
Yeah, the Malvinas. Yeah, but what's since then?
Well, the Desert Storm, we helped the United
Okay.
States there. And then we worked with the United Nations.
Yeah.
So Argentina is deployed in many United Nations missions. And from what I gather is because there is a natural tendency to de-escalate conflict in the
Yeah.
Argentinian military. So they are really good at conflict situations in which they can de-escalate conflict. For example, Haiti,
Yeah.
UNPROFOR, that was Croatia, and when the United States mission was in place,
Yeah.
and Cyprus, that's where they are working as well. They were called for the Colombian disarmament of the FARC, and they were called, and I think there was and then they were called for the Mali situation in Africa, but the government decided not to allow them to go.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think they might get involved in this situation coming up with Venezuela and Guyana?
I really am confused about this situation because this conflict never existed before Maduro started talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think Venezuela is a Cuban province.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah.
the United States is going to be a huge factor at play here, like always. And of course,
Yeah.
the Mercosur community is going to be a huge factor at play here.
Yeah.
And of course, Argentina is going to be against Venezuelan occupation. But I do not believe that we're going to be deployed there. I do not believe that we're going to get involved if it were to escalate, which I don't think it will. Although I've been wrong before.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. And since it's right there, I don't know if the Brazilians would get involved. But yeah, they
deployed troops. So
yeah. I think something like that could probably spell the end of the communist regime in Venezuela. At least that's what I'm hoping. Losing a war can sometimes bring down a corrupt regime. In fact, that's usually the most common way they get brought down.
I think Maduro's regime is destined to fall in the next 5 to 10 years. It's in an unsustainable situation anyways, and it's going to fall under its own weight. That is inevitable. And when that happens, is the time of the international community to push things. Although I don't like that because it has to do with a country's sovereignty, I think the best thing to do would be to it's such a complicated situation because on the one hand, I'm all in favor of sovereignty for every nation. And on the other, I do agree that it is a tyrannical situation for the Venezuelan people. I have many Venezuelan friends and they all tell me that it's a horrible situation. And I always tell them, whenever we talk, I always tell them, welcome home. Like, bienvenidos a casa, as in Argentina, as a new home, because Argentina has always been the home for the persecuted and the victims of the world. We welcomed the Jews during World War II. We welcomed, and before that as well, we welcomed the Germans in the Volga River in Kazakhstan. We welcomed the Welsh. We welcomed the Indian people, Sikhs. We welcomed Sikhs. We welcomed the Syrians. We welcomed the Lebanese. We welcomed Turkish people. We welcomed everyone in the world that ever had a problem. Armenians. We have so many Armenians, man.
There's that one. There's that one guy who's descendants of Armenians, who's one of that Eduardo Ernequian or something like that.
Ernequian.
Yeah, really rich guy. His parents were from Armenia.
Yeah. So Argentina has always been the home for the dispossessed. Yeah. So whenever this problem arises, I can only give the people of Venezuela just my deepest support. I've helped Venezuelans getting accustomed to being here. And I always tell them the same, man, this is going to be your home for as long as you want it. And Argentina is not going to reject anyone that comes. And that is something that is written in our constitution. There is an article in the constitution that says that everyone that recognizes the Argentinian flag and wants to work here honestly, to do an honest day's work, is going to be welcomed, and they are going to have and they're going to be recognized with all the rights for every Argentinian. And so I just can only welcome them for as long as we can. And I think Maduro is going to fall under his own weight inevitably. Yes. And I do hope that whatever interference there is from the international community, from the other world powers, is in order to reduce casualties and the innocents that are going to suffer.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. Yeah, and as I like to say, the Venezuelans are going to come there and turn it into a baseball country.
Well, that is going to be another sport in which we're going to be the best. Yeah. So watch yourselves, American. You're going to have competition.
Sounds good. Yeah. I know a lot of great Venezuelans myself. I know a guy who's probably helped 50 people get out of Venezuela, brought them to the U.S. They're getting to see what snow is.
everyone. I have a friend of mine. I have a godchild, and the other godparent is called Victor Navarro, and his handle is Vic_Navarro. Everyone that is watching this, follow him and follow the work that he's doing. He was captured by the Venezuelan regime and tortured for a long time. And when he came out, he had to escape Venezuela and came to Argentina. Since then, he has worked tirelessly to end torture in Venezuela and the concentration camps and the torture camps and the black sites that the Venezuelan government operates in Venezuela. So follow him. Vic_Navarro.
Vic_Navarro.
It's Victor Navarro. He meets with world leaders and he's always doing work, and everyone should follow him. He does God's work.
Vic_Navarro, yeah.
And he's a good friend of mine as well. I really like him, and I send him my regards.
Yeah, Vic. I didn't see a Vic_. Is this on Twitter?
No, Instagram. I'm sorry. I don't know his Twitter handle.
That's the problem. I don't go on.
Oh, that's an Instagram, by the way. I'm sorry. There's so much social media nowadays. I get confused.
Oh yeah, there's too much of it, and I'm trying to stay. And since I've never been on Instagram, I don't want to start. But we'll have to definitely know who he is. Well,
you guys should follow him because he's a very important person. He's going to be an important person in the future.
Yeah, it's good to know. Yeah, I think this certainly could be. I think this could be the most important election in the history of the world. Well, Agustin, it's been great having you on here. You have anything else you want to say before we go? It's been great having you here.
Viva la libertad, carajo.
Viva la libertad, carajo. Yes.
And have fun, man. Have fun.
Have fun. Yeah.
Be disruptive. There is only one time in life to be disruptive, and that is when libertarians have a chance at being in the presidential campaign. I still cannot believe it. I still cannot believe it. Guys, have fun. Be disruptive. Do not care about other people's sensibilities. You have to win, and you have to get back your country, because the left is never going to stop. You give them an inch, they're going to take your neck. They're never going to stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop running, and don't stop struggling, because you guys are going to win at the end, because you're moral and you're right.
Oh,
People
where are you on the internet?
Oh, you can follow me at Agus Beldi, Agusbeldi,
On Twitter?
on Twitter and on every other social media. I use the same handle for everything
Okay,
because
yeah.
I'm too
Okay, yeah,
lazy to
that's
find a
cool.
new one. And I have a weird name. No one really has my name, so I always get first
Yes.
tips on my in every
Yeah.
social media.
Well, I'm Chris Baker. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out my Substack, go buy my novel Escape from the Village. Thank you, Agustin, and we're out.